So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Alan Hyde chat show. It's Tin Top Thursday, not Tuesday. As you can see, we gathered a motley bunch of fans together who are all going to quiz Alan and probe him the way he's never been probed before. I'm not sure this is going to be broadcastable, but anyway.
Well, we've got an interloper. We've got a doggy now.
Oh, that's Flossie, by the way.
That's Flossie. Hello, Flossie.
That's Flossie, who's just won top pet in Northumberland.
Really?
Yes. I'm sure Fiona will elaborate on that.
And now she's gone all shy.
Right, well, let's go around the room then.
Okay, who's gonna start?
We have Simon is up first on my list.
Evening, Alan.
Hi, Simon.
How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. I've had a rush to get here because I just went to Thruxton to clean my my camper van because I'm off to trucks at Brands Hatch tomorrow, and I wanted it to be all spick and span. So I was watching the time and auto glimming, obviously. The camper van, so it all looks brand spanking new. Right, what question have you got, Simon? Because I'm not good at answering questions. I'm much better at asking them.
Well, light-hearted one, I think, to start with.
Go on.
As a regular watcher of your or listener, sorry, of your Tin Top Tuesday program, and the conversations that you have with Tingram.
Yeah.
How about if you could combine or create a biscuit of your own, what would it be?
God.
That's a good question, and also a controversial one. So what am I doing? Am I combining two biscuits?
Up to you. Your biscuit, you create what you want.
It would have to. Well, is it a biscuit? It would have to have Jaffa cake properties. For that is the best biscuit. It's the only biscuit that I can't. I have to eat the whole sleeve. I can't leave it. So it would have Jaffa cake properties, and it would also have properties of a custard cream. Good, because the custard cream is the classic biscuit. It works well without dunking in tea. It works well with dunking in tea, and you can have it anytime, day or night. Custard cream is always the answer. And a ginger biscuit as well. So there'd have to be an element of. What about a Jaffa cake with ginger essence in it? That might be quite nice.
Sounds good.
Oh, there's a definite no.
Jaffa ginger.
Only an essence, only a tiny essence of ginger, but that would be nice. I'd like that.
Thanks, Alan.
You're welcome, Simon.
Let's head over to Ricky next then.
Good evening, Alan.
Where's Ricky?
Obviously been a Scotsman and for Scotland. Do you think that Gordon Shedden had his two British touring car championships easier than John Cleland had his two British touring car championships?
Bear
in mind, Gordon was back to back.
Although they're both Scots, they are uniquely different characters, which I find fascinating. When Flash has got his race face on, he's extremely focused and really knuckles down to the job. Whereas Cleland, and even the most stressful of situations, he'd always have a little one-liner. He was and still is extremely amusing with an incredibly quick wit. So no, and I don't think you can compare the two eras either. The era of touring car racing that we are in recent years, so the championships that Flash has had, very different cars and a very different environment when JC was racing, and we still see John, which is brilliant. I think it's mega that we've got Flashback this year, after a couple of years away doing world touring cars, which obviously didn't work out quite as he would have liked, but to have him back rather than for him not to be doing anything at all is brilliant news. Absolutely brilliant. And although he didn't have the greatest of opening rounds at Thruxton, I don't think it will take long, will it? It won't take.
Yeah.
It won't take long.
You've got to speed quick.
Yeah, he will. He absolutely will. But it's so different. I mean, if you think about competing in the WTCR and in the BTCC, the two they're worlds apart. The circuits where they go, the way the teams work, the way the cars are. I mean, everything is totally different. So I'd like to think that this year, having him back, he'll feel back at home, and he'll be straight into it. I would have thought the most one of the most emotional things I remember in the BTCC and working in the touring cars was John's final race meeting when we were up at Nog Hill, and he was and I talked about it and then interviewed him. He was piped onto the podium for a lap of honor around the circuit, and it was, I mean, the bagpipes are always sort of quite an emotional instrument anyway, aren't they? But it was just so special. It was lovely, and even he, I think, would admit to having a slightly moist eye. That was lovely. That was mega. Good, and a good question as well, Ricky. That got me thinking. That did.
Lovely. Radio. Next up then on my screen is Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Hiya, just did it again, put me on the spot. Well, I'm going to ask something totally unrelated to racing.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like those.
Radio. What got you into radio? What got you into radio?
So I could give the really long winded answer. I always wanted to be a radio presenter, really, from when I was a kid, and the earliest memory that I have of that was when my dad was decorating. So he was decorating the lounge and the dining room, and I was probably five or six, and I had a record player, and I already started the slippery road of buying records, and I thought I will be the DJ while he's working. He doesn't need the radio on. I can do that. And so on the white paper sleeve of See My Baby Jive by Wizard from 1972, it actually says in 5-year-old writing, theme to the decorators, which is what I called the little radio station. I was still got it. And it was all I ever wanted to do. But so I became a musician. I was a musician in my sort of playing in bands in my teens, which then led to writing jingles for a radio station in Victor FM, and in my sort of late teens, early 20s. And I was sort of tantalizingly close to being a presenter, but I wasn't a presenter. I used to go out and present their road shows and do various things. And then an opportunity came up in my mid-20s to sort of commentate and then work in motorsport radio, Radio Le Mans and Radio Silverstone. So it's only this year that I've actually finally got a radio show on a a proper radio station where I don't talk about racing, I don't talk about anything, but I do a 1980s show once a week on a station called The Wireless, which I didn't realize I would love as much as I do, but it is brilliant. So it's taken 55 years to finally get a music radio show, and it's worth every minute. So the answer to your question is I got in by foul means, really. I was writing jingles, and that was my first experience of radio and going on air. And the weird thing is that there's a presenter on talk radio called Ian Collins, and Ian and I are best mates, and we started on the same radio station on the same show, and we're the same age on the same night. So we've stayed friends ever since, and that would have been back in 1990. And it's lovely because you work in radio as well, don't you? You do a show, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it?
Facebook. No, it's something I always wanted to do. I got interviewed at the Sheffield show when I was about 7 years old, or rather my teddy bear did. I don't know, I used to do covers, listening to Radio Luxembourg like everyone my age did, and then I started sort of going and gate crashing Celtic Music Radio in Glasgow, just calling up there all the time because they all became friends. And then I saw some people advertising for a new station on Facebook just up at Duns up the road there, and I was like, can I come? Am I too old? Can I do what I want to do? And that was it. I've been doing it for 11 years now. So
see, I'm probably the same as you, but I love radio. Yeah. I love the magic of, so when I'm working in the office, as I have been for the majority of today, I'll have something burbling on in the background. Normally a talk radio station or a news radio station, but sometimes a music station. Problem with music station on in the background is it distracts me, and I end up listening to the music. If I've got people are pining about politics and news and whatnot, just washes straight over my head. But it's company. But so one of the things that that almost upsets me a little bit nowadays, the advent of podcasts were fantastic, because it's like a downloadable radio show, which I think is awesome. But now, and I do think it's a shame, it seems that most podcasts are videoed as well. So that kind of defeats the object of using just sound and imagination and stuff like that, because that is the magic of radio. The fact that you've got an image of what the presenter looks like and what the studio looks like, and you've got these images of things that are happening that you're not hearing, and it's imagination, which is why when we started putting Tin Top Tuesday on the BTCC website, Mr. Gow said to me, why don't you stream the video as well? I said, no, that's absolutely what I don't want to do. That would break the magic of people's image of what what goes on behind the mic, if you like, which is normally quite frantic, playing a piece of music and trying to get the next caller up before the piece of music ends. So it's so that's and technology is brilliant. We're able to do stuff like this, but it's kind of spoiling radio in a way, which is a shame.
Video killed the radio star.
Well, that's what they said in 1980. How correct the Buggles were, eh?
Yeah.
Hopefully that was a decent enough answer.
That was brilliant, thank you.
Lovely, right. Let's move on to Lucy and Alan then.
Hello, Lucy and Alan.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question is that this year we've had Rick Parfitt has started racing in the BTCC, and before he started racing, he was, and he still is, a musician. So my question is there any other musicians or even like TV personality like Calvin Fletcher who's raced in the past that you would like to see move from doing music or whatever they're doing and into like the BTCC or other race series?
That's a really well thought out question. It's a mega question. Because the answer is no, there isn't anyone else, because I've already done my favorite. So my favorite band, and Lucy, you're too young to know them, but maybe Alan has played you a few songs by a band called Dire Straits, who were they turned up in the 70s. They were huge in the 80s and 90s, and they stopped in the 90s. At the time, for a while, they were the biggest band on the planet, and Mark Knopfler, the lead guitarist, who's an amazing guitarist, beautiful guitarist. He races, or used to race. I don't think he does anymore, but he's a big motorsport fan, and he's got some really quite exotic, old, classic racing cars. One, I think he owned a car which was raced by Nuvolari, which is pretty exceptional bit of historical racing kit. And he used to race at the Silverstone Classic. And the first year that I was working at the Silverstone Classic and he was racing there, I made it my ambition of the whole weekend to go up and interview him and tell him how when I was a teenager I queued up outside the Hammersmith Odeon for tickets, and we had the most brilliant chat. The first 15 minutes we talked about racing, which was my job, and then I switched the mic off and let him know that I was a fanboy, and we had a most amazing chat. And then after that, I met him quite a few times. He was a guest of John Surtees at a couple of dinners that I went to that I was working at the Royal Automobile Club, and it was a really odd feeling because I'm almost more passionate about music than I am motor racing, because it's the thing that I've loved since I was a tiny kid. So to be stood in front of someone that I idolized and asking him questions and him answering and engaging with me was something mega, something absolutely brilliant. So there's no one else. That's it. I've done it. That was my musician bucket list. But you mentioned Rick Parfitt. He's a mega bloke. So I've known him for quite a few years, and he asked me if I could. He organised a karting event. So this would have been in 2004. He organised a karting event, and he asked me if I could come down and do some stuff, present and do some commentary and whatnot. And it was local to me. I think it was in Streatham, South London. So I went along, and I don't really know why, but it's a vague memory. But I was getting changed, so I was putting a race suit on, and he was getting changed at the same time, and he was sort of chatting away, and he thanked me for coming, and he said, how's life? And I said, life is actually a bit rubbish at the moment, Rick. And it was because my mum was in hospital and she'd just been diagnosed with cancer, and it wasn't a cancer that they could fix. So I said, yeah, mum's in hospital. We've only just found out, and it's all a bit rubbish, to be honest. And he knew that my mum was a big fan of Status Quo, because I used to take her to see Status Quo concerts. Um, and Rick's dad was a guitarist in Status Quo, and he asked me what hospital she was in, and I didn't think twice about it. But about 3 or 4 days later, at the hospital, my mum received a package of Status Quo signed goodies, a get well card, a letter, CDs, DVD, which Rick organised, and my mum was over the moon. In fact, she got me to laminate the letter so that she could have it by her bed in hospital, and it didn't get spoilt with splashes of water and whatnot. So, yeah, Rick's one of the good guys. He's a mega bloke. I didn't ask him to do that, and he did it, and that's blooming mega, to be honest.
That's good.
Definitely.
We like Rick. He had a good weekend as well at Thruxton, didn't he?
It's all right, yeah.
Are you who's your favourite driver?
Come on.
I mean, we quite like Rory Butcher with us being Scottish, but we're also big Tom Ingram fans.
Yay! Yay! Yeah.
Ash Sutton as well. You can't deny Ash Sutton, I think.
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. From the first minute he got in a touring car, he was mega, which was at the media test day, and he was quickest for most of the afternoon, and he'd never driven one before. It was in the MG, and you just thought, blooming heck, you know, that's pretty special compared to all the, you know, the huge amount of experience that's on the grid, and he just gets in. He couldn't even see the apex of the corners correctly because the seat wasn't quite right. And absolutely brilliant, really brilliant. Whereabouts in Scotland are you?
We're up in the northeast beside, we're just north Aberdeen, about an hour north Aberdeen.
Oh, wow. So you've got a long trip even down to Knockhill, haven't you?
I mean, Knockhill, Alton Park, Croft, that's our three.
They're the three that you do, are they? How long does it take to get to Alton Park?
Well, quite a time. We've never timed it. We usually take it to twice, so takes long enough.
Aberdeen's a long way, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not the handiest for us. It's difficult to go every time. We always go to Knockhill.
Yeah.
I've always gone to Knockhill for the last 25 years, I suppose.
So last year was horrible, wasn't it? Seeing Knockhill and not being able to go, seeing a couple of spectators up on the top of the hill.
It's a great spectator circuit because you can see so much.
It's absolutely mega. We normally go for a week, so we normally sort of go up and spend a week doing pointless things like playing mini golf and seeing a bit of Scotland. We make a week of it.
We go for the whole weekend and camp, so it's a great festival atmosphere.
Yeah, it's mega. It's absolutely mega. It's always friendly and always happy, and sometimes we have sunshine, which is amazing. We've had a couple recently, haven't we, where we've had sun, which has been awesome.
It's been okay.
Yeah. Have you had sun this week?
It's been really good this week, yeah.
See what I mean, Lee? I can't ask questions. I end up asking questions. I can't help myself.
Sorry.
Right, Alan. Yeah, Alan, have you got a question for Alan?
I could get a quick question. Who do you think is the best BTCC driver never to have won a championship?
What a good question. What a good question. That's a superb question. At the moment, the field at the moment, there are two. Tom Ingram.
Tom Ingram as well. That's what I was going to say was Tom Ingram, yeah.
Tom Ingram, I think, is a mega driver. And also a really nice guy. You know, it's no secret that we get on. We share a sense of humour, and we really get on well. And Josh Cook, I rate Josh Cook extremely highly. I think he's a brilliant driver. That's drivers of now, isn't it? What about drivers of days gone by? I reckon if Nigel Mansell had the chance to do a full season, I reckon he could potentially have been fighting for a championship title, because the speed with which he got used to the car, having just won the world championship in Formula One, then gone to IndyCar. And won that title, and then to step into a touring car and in the rain at Donington be competitive and be up at the front, which was this is good news for Ricky and for you. That race was actually won by John Cleland, wasn't it? But Mansell was fantastic. He was absolutely awesome. So potentially he could have been a champion, but of the modern breed, I'm waiting for Josh Cook and Tingram to get the chance, because they could. They're both good enough to do it if they have the consistency of a year to be able to put the championship together. Then that would be awesome, absolutely awesome.
Without doubt.
And in fairness, they both started the year pretty well at Thruxton, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Pretty damn cool. Where's Flossie gone, Fiona?
Yes.
Oh, good. So just as long as we know she's all right. Okay, very good. Just chilling out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so moving along my list there, we got Kay next.
Hi,
Hi,
Alan.
Kay. Hiya. How are you?
Hiya. I'm fine. On one of the tin tops last year, you said how your mum gave you the bit of advice: if you can't say nothing nice, don't insult. Hang on. I'm going to take this call. It's the vet.
Oh
Hang
no.
on.
Yeah,
I'm going
go,
to
Kay.
have to mute.
We'll come back to you, Kay.
We'll come back. That's absolutely fine. Who's next on the list? Lee?
Shazza, Sharon.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, Sharon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very
Hoping
good.
to get to Snetterton, but I'm not sure if I can.
Oh no, why? Why?
I'm not able to drive. I've got problems with the leg and my knee, and been suffering for quite a while now. So.
And where do you live?
Cumbria.
Right, that's a long way from anywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess Cumbria is cool for Alton Park.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to Alton because that's not too far down the road.
Yeah,
it's a shame I can't get to Snetterton, but
that is a shame. Are they not? I mean, I'm sorry, I've been distracted. Who's in a car?
Rob. That can only be Rob Marsh, can't it?
He's been watching far too many Paul O'Neill videos. That's what he's been doing. It's a red light. You can't move. Don't go anywhere. Is it? So how do you normally get to meetings, Shazza? Do you get lifts with friends who are? Is there anyone local that goes to races?
No. Well, obviously last year I couldn't go at all, but the year before that I just drove. But this year I haven't got the mobility there at the moment. Hoping it'll improve.
Oh, what a bind! What a bind! Has that been exacerbated by sort of less activity because we've been locked down and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I was doing a little photo shoot for a charity and got overzealous by jumping in the air and damaged my knee.
Oh no.
So yeah, so it was started off a hamstring, a tore my hamstring, and then it's sort of gone off all the way down my leg. So
ouch. Hamstring's really painful, isn't it?
It is very painful.
Oh, I can't believe it does become one thing after another, doesn't it? You always seem to find this. So we get locked down last year, and then then something else happens, and something else happens, and something else happens, and they're not connected, but it's just, when's the good stuff going to happen? And you were doing something for a good reason, and that just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll think twice next time about jumping in.
yeah,
the
don't
air.
do jumping. Yeah, do the charity stuff, but don't do the star jumps. Now, so what's your question, Shazza?
Well, I'm joining Tin Top Tuesday, and thank you for reading out my emails. But I just want to know what was behind all that. How did it start, and whose idea was it?
Good question. So the name I can't claim I came up with, although he argues that I did, but I didn't. Gary Champion, who's somebody that I worked with on Radio Silverstone at the Grand Prix and at Silverstone Classic and MotoGP, and also a really good friend. He works for a company called Globecast, and in the 1990s or maybe early 2000s, Globecast started a radio station on Sky. So it was Sky Channel 807, I think. And the idea was that we covered a lot of major events during the year. So we'd do the Epsom Derby and Crufts and the Grand Prix and the Classic and umpteen, really big events, Cheltenham Festival, all sorts of big events. And for each of those, we did like the radio station for the event radio station. So the idea behind Globecast Radio was that not only would we broadcast those on locally on 87.7 FM or whatever at the event, but also we could put it on the Sky platform and it could go far and wide, which was great. It cost quite a bit of money to be on the Sky platform.
Yeah.
But basically, Gary was responsible for this. It was his idea. It was a great idea, and he convinced the bosses that this was the way to go. But then, when we weren't doing events, he wanted content, so he wanted shows to go on air. So he said, "Why don't you do something on a Tuesday? We've got a slot on a Tuesday night. You could do something about touring cars." I didn't really particularly like the idea of it, and I didn't think that anyone would tune in. So we agreed to do one, which we did at the media day. After the media day, must have been 2005.
Yeah.
And we drove home from the media day, and we did an hour, and we didn't expect that anyone would tune in, but we gave out the email address, and all of a sudden it's like magic. Emails started popping in, and then eventually we did that for the first 2 years of the show. We did it every Tuesday night we extended it for the second week to 2 hours, but it involved all tin top racing. So it could be rallying, DTM, anything with a roof. And then in more recent years, we've sort of honed it down to because the thing was, people could be into DTM and they wouldn't be into BTCC, or they could be into rallying, but they weren't into touring cars. So it was too diluted. So we wouldn't keep the same audience week after week. If we had a big rally star on, then we'd lose our touring car fans. So eventually we decided to sort of pinpoint it and just stick to the BTCC. So it was a slot filler. That's how it is. And Gary came up with the name. It wasn't me. He's very funny. He's a funny bloke. His brain works in a different way to ours. And he came up with Tin Top Tuesday. I thought it was brilliant. brilliant idea for a name, and still going strong. So we're now in the 14th year of doing it. There were I think 2 years that we didn't have a sponsor, so we didn't do it. But 14 years for something that I had no idea would get any listeners. I tell you what, the magical thing was when we started getting, when you're on air and you start getting emails dropping in, and you realize that someone's actually listening, which is brilliant. And the biggest audience that we had when we were on the Sky platform was the show that we had Murray Walker on. And that was awesome. It went into a different level of listener figures that week. It was just brilliant. It was amazing. Good question, Shazza.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Well, I hope to see you soon. And no more star jumps.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Are we going to go back to Kay?
We are going back to Kay.
Hi, Kay.
Hi, Alan.
Well, is everything all right with the vet?
It wasn't the best news.
Oh no.
About a cat. So.
Oh no.
I'll find out more when she's had results of biopsies done. So.
Oh no.
But, yeah, there's not a lot I can do about it. I have to leave her in the vet's hands. They're the expert.
Well, at least she's been looked after, yeah.
But she's not suffering at the moment, so that's great. You know, they're looking after us now.
Okay, good.
So that's good. I've thought of a different question to my first one now, after Shazza was talking about Murray Walker.
Yeah.
On the last show, you said you were going to do a Murray Walker special. When is that happening, and what exactly are you going to be doing?
It will. It will happen because I was so fond of Murray, and I know there are so many great stories from a lot of the people that I know. So my plan would be to have Steve Ryder on it, because Steve A, is brilliant at telling stories, and B, has got the most wonderful Murray story on the planet, which I'd like him to tell. It's quite a long story, but it's well worth it. And then that started me thinking that there's quite a few other people that no doubt have got their own little Murray story. So I spoke to John Cleveland, asked him, and he'd be up for doing it. Spoke to a couple of other people. Charlie Cox would be one that I would get on, who would have stories of Murray. And it's just a question of finding a good slot during the year, or maybe after the season has finished, before Christmas, because I don't want it to be a normal kind of show. I want to sort of get some clips organized, and because I've found the audio of when he was on Tin Top Tuesday, which was a very funny story in itself. So yeah, I had thought that I would do it before Snetterton, maybe, but I probably won't. It'll probably be at the end of the year, but for sure we'll do it, because Murray was mega. He was just a mega bloke. Fantastic guy, so sweet. I remember him saying, so I was on a buggy at Goodwood. I'd done an interview with him at Goodwood, because I used to do the BMW interviews on the BMW stand, and he had to go back to the hotel, so I went with him on the buggy back to the hotel, and we couldn't go more than 2 or 3 meters without being stopped and people wanting to chat to him and maybe get a photograph with him and stuff like that. And when we were sort of back on our way again, I said to him, how weird is that you know, you cannot come to a place like this and not be seen by everyone and adored by everybody, because they're all there was never any negativity. It was always you know, how fantastic it was to see him. And he said he was always very methodical with how he said, Alan, these people invite me into their living room every Sunday afternoon. The least I can do is to spend a bit of time chatting to them. And I just think he just totally gets it. What a lovely way of thinking of it, that he's a sort of that he's a house guest. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He was a lovely man. He was with a bit of a cheeky sense of humor sometimes. So if you were interviewing him and you asked him a question that he needed a bit of time, he did this to me a few times. So if he didn't instantly have the answer, he would throw it back to me and ask me the question, which of course I'm not prepared for. And then very often it would be a tricky question that he knew the answer to. So you had to be on your toes. He certainly kept you on your toes. He had a phenomenal knowledge, memory, absolutely amazing. And I was really sad when he passed away this year. And it was weird, because when someone gets to be that age, you should be expecting it. And I also knew that he hadn't been in the best of health. I last saw him in July 2019. We were at Do together, and we recorded, filmed an interview, half-an-hour interview. But you kind of feel with people like that they're going to go on forever. I you know, I mean, even when you're in your 90s, you just think, well, the personality belies the age of the person, because he's so alive in his brain and in his words and everything. I was really sad. Yeah, that was quite a blow this year, really was. So yeah, we'll definitely do a show. Promise. Yeah, the amount of time it took me to find the audio of him on Tin Top Tuesday took forever. And unfortunately, the best bit's missing. I edited out the best bit because, well, it didn't go according to plan, put it that way. With hindsight, it's very funny. At the time, it was really difficult. But all will be revealed when we do the show. There you go, Kate. Good question. Mega question.
And moving on to Kevin.
Okay.
Where's Kevin?
Hi, Alan.
Hi, Kevin. Hello, mate.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Hopefully mine's quite a straightforward one. You've interviewed loads of people over the years, but who has been your favourite driver and why?
You're right, and I was thinking about this just last week, because I've been asked to do VIP interviews, so VIP driver interviews, a really quite big event this year, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. And it reminded me, because one of the names is that I'll be interviewing was somebody that I've interviewed before, and it was sort of really quite early in my career, and he sort of, so talking to him made me stutter a little bit, just for a few moments, and that was Emerson Fittipaldi. So I interviewed Emerson Fittipaldi and Mario Andretti on the same weekend, which was one of those strange sort of pinch me moments, really. I'd already done work with, the likes of Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill, but you almost feel that characters like that are, because they're in this country, that they're more accessible anyway. But when you get to someone of Mario Andretti or Emerson Fittipaldi's history, and guys that aren't over in this country very often, it's sort of that was pretty special. But the most amazing driver I've ever interviewed, without a shadow of a doubt, is Alex Zanardi, because he's the only driver that's ever made me have tears when I've been interviewing him, and not least, I was a particular job in Germany, I think it was, and I introduced him, and it was a black tie do, and there was a standing ovation for him. Everyone on their feet applauding him. During the course of the interview, he said something that was absolutely remarkable, and it made me realise that he is of a different mind to the rest of us. He's just on another level. He said in the interview, "I'm pleased I had my accident in IndyCar," which, bearing in mind he lost both legs, is a pretty astonishing thing to say. But he said, the reason I'm pleased it happened is because if it hadn't have happened, I would have never discovered the joy that I get from riding my hand bike. And that is a pretty amazing way to turn the hugest negative of anyone's life around into a positive. And he's an amazing character, absolutely amazing guy. And he's another one. I did an event with him somewhere in Europe, at a DTM meeting, and I was his designated driver. So I had to pick him up. I don't like driving racing drivers, because I always think that they're thinking, "Oh, go on, go a bit quicker," because I'm not a fast driver. So I picked him up from the airport, and then I had to sort of be with him throughout the event. And he was someone else. He can't go 3 feet without getting mobbed by a crowd, and rightly so. He's just a mega bloke, but unbelievable character. I don't know how he is after his handbike accident, but there was something positive, I think, from his family in the last month or so, that he was making good progress. But to have had 2 huge life-changing accidents, he's got he certainly has the mental strength to get better, which I hope he does. He's the most astonishing, so even better than the best driver, he is the most astonishing human being I've ever spoken to. He's amazing. So that was an easy one.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Brilliant.
Okay, and moving on to the newest member of the Tin Top Racing admin team, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Glenn. Hi.
Sorry if everybody heard the announcement of my dinner arriving.
No.
My gran lives next door, so she was knocking on the wall.
Ah, well, you're very lucky, Glenn. That's all I can.
I thought my microphone was on.
Is it going cold? Is it going
Oh,
cold?
it's okay. It's Hagger, Sneaks and Tatties, so it's easy to keep warm.
Very good.
Yes, I've only joined Tin Top probably about a month ago, so it's going quite well, I think.
Well done.
But,
well done.
But yeah, I was just wondering, obviously, since you started commentating and things, quite a lot has changed technology-wise and things. And there's the whole evolution of e-racing. And I just wondered if you had any advice for, we've got two people in the group, commentators on the e-racing. And if you had any thoughts on that and how, if you think it sort of crosses over quite well.
No, it's a really timely question, actually, because I worked at Silverstone at the weekend on the Citroen C1 24-hour race. And I was working with two young commentators, neither of whom I'd worked with before. And Chaz, the guy that took the lead commentary over the weekend, that's how he's got into real world commentating. He's been doing sort of sim racing, e-racing, and all that kind of stuff, which is, it's amazing. I mean, to be able to get, if you like, practice before you go into the real world, that's that's a luxury that we didn't have. We sort of went along and did club racing meetings and made our mistakes in front of a live crowd, which is can be embarrassing sometimes. But he's come through. Many others have come through and made the switch from e-racing to real world commentary. He's a busy commentator this year. He's going to a lot of events. He's very good. I'm not sure about the other way around. So
yeah.
So the interesting thing is that I was asked to do a commentary with the commentator Johnny Green, who I do Macau every year with, and we were asked to do an e-race 24-hour race at Le Mans, which was in the middle of lockdown last year, and we did it. Obviously, the technology is incredible. We're doing it from our own homes. Johnny lives in America. I live here. There are a couple of other commentators that were dotted around, and we're all looking at the same picture of a sim race. The only problem, and it is a problem. So I enjoyed it. It was it was fun, and it was nice to be doing something. It was nice to be commentating, but I realized what it misses. It misses the jeopardy, or it misses the risk, because when I worked at Le Mans, and certainly thinking back to the first few times I worked at Le Mans, I was in awe because of what they were doing, and the potential for what they were doing to not go right, for something to go wrong, particularly in the night when you're doing over 200 miles an hour, and it's just staggering. And so I realized, and then watching these guys do an e-race, they're very skilled, but if you go off the circuit, well, you're not going to bend the car, you're not going to hurt yourself, and so it didn't have that tingle that live racing has for me. So I think maybe I'm an old dinosaur, and I still need.
You can't beat the real thing.
No, I well, for me, I couldn't, and it is because potentially, the way I was thinking was, I think one of the things I love about being a commentator is talking to drivers, because I could never do it. So I could never do what they're doing, and I don't. With all the training in the world, my brain doesn't work in the same way that a racing driver's brain works. So the way they see fear as an exciting thing rather than something to be fearful of. So I have the hugest respect for racing drivers. But when I was doing the Le Mans 24-hour e-race, I could do that, couldn't I? If I practiced enough, and spent enough hours with the right kit doing it, I could do it, because fear doesn't come into it. There's no risk, or there's no inherent danger, or so I think it's my respect for racing drivers that make real life racing special. And that respect that I have for them is because I could never do it. But that didn't answer your question. The question was about the commentary, and it's a brilliant. Clearly, it's going to be a big thing for the future, and it makes the world smaller. People competing from all over the world, on their rigs. The technology behind it is brilliant, and it's a great way of young guys learning their craft and learning how to drive or how to commentate. But I think the last 18 months has taught us all that there is absolutely no there's nothing like seeing people in real life. There's nothing. It doesn't get close, does it? If we were, this is brilliant because we're all together and we're all talking to each other and doing all that kind of stuff, all in our own houses, which has been fantastic. But nothing beats actually being with people,
being there,
doing it in real life. Yeah.
Well, I just got to Croft this weekend. That was my first outing since the government lifted the restrictions.
Was it really?
Hence all the red and the.
Have you got a bit of a glow?
Do you know what? It was worth it.
Good for you.
It was worth it just to be there trackside again. I don't think there's anything like it. Is it? You can't get the same feeling from watching the e-racing.
No,
but, I definitely found it June lockdown when there was no race, and it was better than nothing.
Same. I watched quite a few of them, and I found them entertaining, and I miss racing, and it plugged a gap really. But there's nothing that compares to the noise, the sensory ambush that you get in motor racing, the noise, the smell, in certain cases the rumbling of the ground. It's a sensory experience which maybe they'll tell me that if I wore a VR headset then I'd get that, but no, I want to be at a circuit watching drivers get out their cars after they've been absolutely on the limit of adhesion, barreling through church at Thruxton, and see their eyes out on stalks, because that's what does it for me.
Yes, the same for me. Really, it was just June lockdown. It was definitely a good alternative.
It was helpful. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Right. You're right.
So moving on, I'm not sure if we've saved the best till last or not, but Rob, Rob Marsh, you might want to unmute yourself.
Unmute myself.
Hello, Rob.
Hello.
I'm glad you had the journey home okay. That was good to be.
It? I went as slow as I possibly could because I didn't want you to fall off the headrest. I'd forgotten. Well, I hadn't forgotten I was doing this. I was looking after my nephews.
Very good. Oh, he's gone. He's back.
Back.
You're back.
He's or maybe not. I knew this was going to happen with Rob.
Where have I gone?
He's back. He's very quiet. Is he quiet for everyone else?
It is very quiet, Rob.
Yeah, very quiet.
Hello.
You're still quiet.
Why am I quiet? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Is that your question? Why are you quiet?
Why am I? Is that it now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? I'm on the bus. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I can hear you if I turn my speakers up really loud.
Quiet?
Yeah.
What if I do this?
That's better.
Is that better?
Oh no, hang on.
That's
You've
better.
done something there.
What? Is that better?
Yeah.
It is.
A bit.
Yeah.
Absolute disaster. This.
Is it?
How about now?
Are you on a phone?
Yeah. Wait. Let me move.
Right. While we got you, what's your question, Rob? Oh, we haven't. Can you do sign language?
Really, he can.
Not hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Can you hear me now? I'm gonna get paranoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna hang out the window. But did you enjoy the trip then? I did go quite slow.
Yeah. Trip was fascinating. I wasn't expecting it. Yeah.
Well, I got sidetracked because I was looking after my sister's kids for the day and I was playing football outside, but they weren't with me. I had them locked in a room because they were a nightmare. It was only 6 hours and they had some water. I put it under the door. They were fine. What was my question? Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Yeah. We got you, Rob.
Well, I was going to say, nothing really interesting. Because of this COVID thing.
Yeah.
And the generally poor hygiene of touring car fans, myself included. I don't wash for weeks before we go. When the paddocks open up again, and we're all allowed to flood in,
yeah,
and rub ourselves on drivers, are you going to let us get anywhere near you?
That's a scary question. I mean, I have to tell you, Rob, I'm a clean freak.
I know you are. You said that to Squish.
I mean, but I think that COVID is a brilliant thing because it has taught people to carry around sanitizer and stuff like that.
I think it's because it kept people away from me, and that's always worked.
I also rather like the elbow. I prefer the elbow to a handshake.
Do you have a preference for the elbow? Is it right or left? Or are you not bothered? You just do
right. I go straight. But there's an issue with the protocol. So some people clearly like the fist bump. And because I prefer the elbow, sometimes you get an embarrassing situation where you end up elbowing a fist.
Someone's fist, yeah.
It's really tricky. I don't know what the protocol is. It's like some really, really rubbish game of rock, paper, scissors where someone offers you a fist and you go up with your elbow and I don't know which one is better. I don't know which one wins.
Someone to fist bump them and they just forget to do anything. You end up punching them. That's always awkward.
Well, it seems to me that people that do fist bumping are very set in their ways. And even if you offer the elbow, they're not prepared to change.
Career fist bumpers, I like it.
Yeah, they're deaf. Yeah. So I don't know. Initially, we've got spectators of 4,000, haven't we? So for Snetterton, we've got 4,000.
Paddock, there'll be a close paddock.
And it will be. I think it will be a segregated public and paddock. I think I don't know, but I'm assuming it will be segregated until restrictions are lifted more, because the paddock, to be in the paddock at the moment, we all have to have tested on the first morning, do all the things that the public don't have to do, and we have to do that. We have to do random checks to make sure that you've had your negative test on the morning of the first day that you're there and stuff like that. So I guess you can't risk that, can you, by mingling with the crowd, as long as we're doing that. So that's an interesting one. I guess we have to wait until the government releases restrictions that we can all mingle together again and be more normal, I guess.
Hear me now? Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was messaging that, what's she called? That woman who races in touring cars, Jane something. I asked her something about like the freedom of movement within the paddock, and I was warning her that there'll probably be an attempted infiltration from the Jeff Army. I can't control them. Nothing to do with me. It's like the Great Escape, but in reverse. And she was saying that you're supposed to stay within your team's bubble, but there is a bit of movement because, you know, if you've got a tight paddock, then it's going to happen anyway. But she said that she can't remember leaving the BTC area. So there's also the fact that there might be people who are a bit reticent to get involved. So if it opens up, then people might not want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it is a reassuring feeling when you have a test before you start on a race weekend and you realize that the other people that you're coming into contact with have all had a test as well, and they've all had a negative test. So that's quite a reassuring, particularly for me, because I'm going from person to person, and you know, interacting with them and talking to them. So it is quite a reassuring feeling. I don't know. I guess it's all down to this June the 21st, isn't it? And whether we open up as previously thought, or whether we, because then I guess if those restrictions are lifted, Alan Gale's always said that he's just representing essentially what the government says. So yeah, if everything is restricted, maybe we can be completely normal and just, you know, open paddock.
You say normal, but you know, normal. Alan Gale doesn't care anyway, because he's not going to deal with the riff-raff, is he? I don't think I've ever seen him on a race weekend. If I do, it's like, keep away from me, mate. You weirdo. I'm only buying you a chocolate bar. Right, so if I see you in the paddock and everyone's allowed in the paddock, and I've had my second vaccine, I've had number 1, so I can get within a metre, not 2 metres. They're my own rules. Can I come and say hello?
Of course you can. Anyone can come and say hello. I mean, it's what makes the BTCC so mega, I think, and it's why we suffered so much last year. You know, not having people, because it's such a people thing, isn't it? You know, pit lane walkabout and everything about what we do has always been people focused. It's the show. It's the, you know, it is putting on a show. And so to all of a sudden last year just not have anyone, it was bizarre. It was really strange. And for Ash to win the championship at the end of last year and arrive in Parc Fermé to silence, really. And you know, I was stood there and I thought, I think I better applaud, because there's, you know, we need to try and make some noise. It was just so weird. So if there's one thing I hope more than anything else, even if the opening up of the country is delayed a little bit, if we can definitely have a crowd, a proper crowd, a normal crowd towards the end of the season and the crowning of the champion, because that just didn't feel right, you know, to have achieved champion status in the BTCC is pretty blooming hard, and then for that magic moment when you get out of the car, having claimed the title, and not hear that roar of the crowd, it just that was not right. it was just not fair. I don't want to ever do that again. Such a shame.
Right, thank you. Okay then, Mr. Hyde, I know you're going to deny this is you.
Gone.
But
gone.
Green flag lap music. Now, I do remember seeing something about you might be having something a say in it this year.
Well, now I already have had a say in it. So the choice of green, the last it used to fly under the radar. In the 90s, I would come up with a piece of music and do the edit and to the right amount of time, and Mr. Gow did not get involved. He was always very happy. And then in the 2000s, he started to say, "Oh, I want this," or "I want that. Can you do an edit?" So he was selecting them. And in recent years, the last one that I selected was the Calvin Harris tune, Let's Go.
Let's Go.
So that was the last one that I did. I still have to do the edits. So last year he gave me a really difficult one that was peppered with rude words. And I said, "We can't play this." He said, "Well, you can just edit it out." I spent a day on it trying to get it. So eventually we came up with something, but he also loves music. So he's got a very clear idea of what he wants to hear on a green flag lap. And if I ever argue or attempt to argue, he does pull the ultimate card. It's my train set, and it is his train set. So ultimately, but this year, because we are welcoming back the spectators, it will be a little more special than normal. That's all I'll say.
You're not going to give us any more hints?
I'm not going to give you anything more than that, but it will be special this year. Yeah.
Don't let the dogs out. That'll be
it. We used to play that at Rockingham when the I think when the legend cars used to come onto the circuit. It worked quite well, actually. It's
I think you should bring Let's Go back.
Well, probably not. No, probably not. Probably not. But that said, you might hear it this year. So.
That is the most ultimate British touring car song ever.
Mega, isn't it? It's just mega.
Not that I've thought of this much, but Thunderstruck has a 1-minute intro with just head banging and foot tapping going on. That would be brilliant before the voiceover came through with it.
I agree.
With the grid.
It would never get green lit, because even though Alan Gow is an Australian, he doesn't like AC/DC.
Oh God!
Which I thought was
sacrilege.
I thought was illegal in Australia not to like AC/DC, but no, he doesn't. No, he likes rock music, but he doesn't like heavy rock, which is a shame because I do a lot.
Fair enough.
In fact, behind me on the wall, because I'm in my office, is hang on, let me see if I can move my camera. This is probably my most prided possession. Can you see that?
We can see something now.
Can you see it's a jacket and it's signed?
Okay.
And it's signed. It was my Radio Silverstone jacket, and it was signed by Brian Johnson from AC/DC while I was interviewing another driver, because somebody told him, "Oh, he's an AC/DC fan," and Gary, that runs Radio Silverstone, was absolutely furious because he'd only just bought these new jackets. It was the first day I was wearing one, and then I said, "Well, I'm not wearing it again. I mean, that's going in a frame. I'm not going to walk around the paddock with Brian Johnson's autograph on my back." So yeah, that's one of my most prized possessions. That I'm with you. I am with you, Lee. I'd have Thunderstruck. Yeah, but in fairness, Mr. Gow's probably got a good idea. It wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea.
I don't know. I don't know. Motorsport fans, come on.
Well, no, a bike crowd, I agree. A bike crowd would be fine. So the requests that I get on Radio Silverstone at MotoGP are always for the rockier side of music and going into heavy rock. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoy it. The MotoGP meeting is fantastic. Hearing music banging out around the circuit and watching packed grandstands appreciating it is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But maybe not at a touring car meeting. Maybe there'd be less people that would like it.
Shame.
Yeah, I know, it's a massive shame.
We have to vote while we're here.
It's a very good point.
Okie dokie. Well, I think we better wrap it up. I was thinking about an hour, as per usual, in true tin top, but on a Tuesday style. We've overrun a little bit.
I talk too much. I know I talk too much. I can't help it. I get lonely. It's nice to see people.
Maybe you just want to give us a few words to end it all off for us, Alan.
I think this has been absolutely brilliant. So we always say this about motor racing fans in the UK, that they're really knowledgeable, but all of you came up with a really thoughtful question tonight. It wasn't just any old question. It was everyone has thought about it. So thank you, because it makes it more interesting for me to work out the answers. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I don't like answering questions. I much prefer asking them. It's much easier.
So I just want to say thank you then. It's been a real honor and a privilege to have you join us this evening.
Thank you, Lee.
And can't wait to see you all at trackside again soon.
Same here. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you everyone for coming along tonight, and thank you for your questions. And let's keep our fingers crossed that before long we will all see each other at the circuits. That would be awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Kay,
you, Alan.
I hope
Thank
that's
you.
okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Kay,
Thank you, guys.
Kay, I hope that's okay. And no night, everyone.
Bye.
See you later.
No,
Cheers, Lee.
Bye.